So, hello! Today we are talking about my mid-month check-in, and this is a weird one in terms of the timing because I'm filming it earlier in the month than I normally would, but because I'm only posting on Sundays this month, I'm posting it later in the month than I normally would. It's a weird dance of timing on this one, but I had a week off because I was originally supposed to have surgery, but then I got accepted into this clinical trial, so now that's pushed back, so I just had this random week off. And as I mentioned in my July wrap-up, I am kind of taking a step back in August to sort of reflect on the state of the channel. So all that being said, one, I've been having some really good reflection time. I'm getting energized and excited about the direction of things. So that's been good. But then also I've just had a lot more time to read and to read some like chunkier things or things that have just been, not even chunkier things, I guess, but just things that have been like weighing on my mind quite a bit in terms of like arcs and some challenge things that I just keep meaning to get to and then like not. So anyway, it feels good. It feels good to kind of clear some of my mental space with my reading and read a lot of things that I've been really enjoying. Like I've been having a really strong reading month. So with that being said, let's talk about what I have read, what I am currently reading, and what I might read next. Okay, so I'm looking and it seems like of the 13 books I've already read, 5 of them I've already said I'm going to talk about at the end of the month. So that includes A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria, which I really enjoyed. I gave this 4 stars. I'll talk about this more at the end of the month. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, which I also gave 4 stars to, and I have mixed feelings about. I did give it 4 stars because I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's really what it's advertised as being. So anyway, I wanted to give like a full deep dive into this one, so we'll also talk about that at the end of the month. So read these, but not going to talk about them here. I had a couple of surprises that were speculative romance that I actually really enjoyed, but were kind of just they just surprised me. One was called I Married a Lizard Man. That was surprisingly sweet and poignant. And one was called Morning Glory Milking Farm, which is based in an erotic kink and was also surprisingly grounded and sweet. Who knew? Monster porn is coming back, but it's not even, I mean, I guess it is monster porn, but it's like actually quite sweet. It was surprising. We'll talk more about that one at the end of the month as well. But for things that I can tell you guys a little bit more about now, so The Stowaway by James Murray, and I think Darren Wehrmuth was the other author. This one I didn't love. It was good. It was like, how to put this in a way that's, it's gonna sound like an insult, but I don't mean it that way. Like this was a great example of just like quick airplane reading. It's the kind of book that is, it is pulpy in the truest sense of where that word kind of derives from, which is printed on cheap paper, and it was sort of designed to be like left while you were traveling. That is what this book is. Like it delivers on a sort of serial killer and an isolation trope on a cruise ship, which is unusual for, like, I haven't seen that premise a ton. So like it has a fun premise, but I just don't know. It's not a very well executed version of it, but it is effective. I feel like I'm saying nothing. Does any of this make sense? Basically, this is entertaining, but totally forgettable and not like high quality or like good. But if what you're looking for is a fun serial killer book, this will do ya. I feel like I'm being really insulting to this book, and I don't mean it that way. I did give it 2.5 stars because I just thought particularly the characterization and the writing itself just was flat. So like it didn't quite meet my expectations for commercial fiction, but I still would recommend it to people like if the premise sounds interesting to you. I feel like that was completely incoherent. Hopefully someone understood what I was trying to get at with that rambling. Then I did finish my reread of Towards Zero by Agatha Christie, and this was really interesting because I remembered the twist, but not the book. And it is probably because it is a very memorable twist. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I talk more about that in a vlog that is going up sometime in September, I think, because I have now finished my rereading project of the 4 Agatha Christie's that I had previously read but just didn't remember anything about. And this one is in that. I talk more about it there. Basically, like this is a really good book, but I see why I didn't remember the story itself, because I think it has like a really big bang to it, but I don't know that like the journey to get there sort of earns that ending in some way. ways. So for instance, there are other Christies with sort of a big bang. And I'm going to talk about my favorite twist in Christie, I think, in a video sometime in the next few weeks. It definitely is a big twist, but I think of her big twists, it maybe doesn't earn it in the same way some of the other ones do. So I think that's why I remember the twist, but not the book. Anyway, that vlog is going up at some point, and I'm very excited that I've now finished that rereading project so that I can do my full ranking of all the Agatha Christie books she wrote under the name Agatha Christie, and I'm excited to get that up sometime by the end of the year. So I read that. I read a fun contemporary romance called On Location by Sarah Smith. She's just so like easy breezy, fun contemporary romance. The problem is she keeps insisting on doing these big miscommunication twists at the end, and they just don't work, I don't think. So it knocks it down from being a really fun, enjoyable contemporary to like not as good as I want it to be, but I still really enjoyed it. And it's set on it's called On Location, and it is set on location in like these national parks in Utah, which I just thought was like a super fun setting. I liked a lot of things about this book, but the big miscommunication thing, I wish she would just stop because it's not necessary and it downgrades a book that is otherwise very, very fun. And then in terms of a challenge, I did read Play of Passion, or reread rather, and I actually gave this a higher rating on my reread than I did my first time around. So I think by the time you guys see this, the podcast episode will have gone up for this, but this was just such a delight. I really love this particular entry. I really am loving so far in my reread where there are two changelings getting together. I remembered liking those books the first time around, but I have a deeper appreciation for it in this reread because it just introduces different dynamics. I guess also because both of the two I've reread, the women in the couple are both like very dominant females, so it just introduces some delicious tension between the pack and the mating day. Oh, it's just so good. So this was a 5-star reread, and the first time I think I gave it 4 stars. So this was a pleasure to reread. And then I read Madam from Phoebe Wynne for a challenge I'm working on, and I originally gave this 3.5 stars, but I think the longer I've thought about it, I'm gonna knock it down to a 3. This is a debut, and I will say I think it's very promising for a debut. It was very readable. I really love the atmosphere of this one. So it's set at this it's basically like a dark academia, gothic boarding school kind of sitch, and it is, I think it's effective in painting that kind of air of menace. I think the metaphor, while great, is a little too on the nose. Like usually in this kind of horror, this is really sort of like a horror type book, and they usually have some kind of metaphor about monstrousness. And I think that metaphor was very apt and interesting in 2021. It was a good idea. I think the execution of it was very on the nose, and therefore it didn't have a lot of kind of layers of complexity to what it was trying to do. And I think that made a lot of the characterization fall a little bit flat. So I like blazed through this. Like I started reading it at the mechanic, and then I really just couldn't put it down once I picked it back up. But so I think it's very readable, and I would be definitely interested to read more from this author in the future. I think this book wasn't as successful as I'd hoped it would be, but I think if you are just into that kind of book, probably this will still be pretty entertaining for you. So in that sense, I would recommend it. Yeah, it was a B. I'm intrigued by this one. Not as good as I was hoping for, but like still intrigued. And then I also finished While Justice Sleeps by Stacey Abrams because I have book club for this at work next week, and this was really fun. It's been a while since I've read just sort of like a page-turnery political thriller, and I think that this was a much smarter version of that kind of book than I've read in a long time. A smarter version of Dan Brown is maybe how I would describe this. I do, however, think it kind of went off the rails in the last third, so I ended up having to bump it down to a 3.5. Up till then, it was definitely a 4-star for me. It got kind of messy, I think, at the end. I think she tried to put a little bit too much. This was like a turducken. It was just too many things stuffed in one thing. But basically the setup for this is that there is a Supreme Court justice who goes into a coma in a very exciting, suspenseful way at the beginning, and everybody finds out that he, for some reason, has appointed one of his clerks as his legal guardian and power of attorney. Nobody can really figure out why. She doesn't know why. They were not close at all, really. They just had a professional relationship, but he's left her all these different clues. There's a lot of like chess clues in this, and this is just, I think it goes into some really interesting places. It has some interesting things to say about sort of like bioethics or medical ethics that I was intrigued by. There's a lot of political machinations, obviously, because it's a political thriller. Like I said, I think it kind of went off the rails, and I wish the bad guys had been a little bit more nuanced almost in their portrayal. But if you're just looking for like a really fun page-turnery kind of book, I think this is a great example of that. And yeah, I'm pleased to have read it. I would definitely read more from her in this genre in the future because this was very entertaining. And also just on a very superficial level, the actual pages of this book are very thick and lovely. Like this feels like a high quality page. So that was also pleasant for me to turn. So there you go. It was page turnery in its content and its actual literal pages. And then I've just been reading a lot of alien romance because I've been in the mood for that. Some of them were good, some of them were not. I think I've been in the mood for like cinnamon roll alien romance. So I read An Alien for Christmas because I mentioned I married a lizard man, which I thought that story was very sweet. An Alien for Christmas is also very sweet, but it is a little, I don't know, it was a little flatter, I felt like, than I Married a Lizard Man, but it was still very enjoyable. If you're looking for a cinnamon roll alien who is like an empath, and it's a species where when they find someone they're compatible with, they can shapeshift permanently into that species. So if they find their perfect like empathic connection, they will then change their bodies to match that, which I think is actually a pretty interesting metaphor. But he was just a super sweet hero. It was just fun. For some reason, I can read a holiday romance year round, so anything that has Christmas in it is gonna make me happy. Then I read The Alien Warrior King's Accountant, and it was a lot. It was one of the weirdest books I've ever read tonally because at moments it knew what it was and it was very silly and campy, and at other moments it was trying to just be like alien porn. So it was very much a mixed bag. I think if it had leaned into the campiness more fully, I would have been on board with it. I was loving any time because it's a literal accountant. It's not a TikTok accountant. She is an actual literal accountant who has been summoned to, she didn't know they were aliens. She's been summoned to this other realm to deal with the taxes of this alien warrior king. And anytime they were like dealing with how much he fucking hates the tax code, it was hilarious and very fun. And I'm probably biased here because I actually, like, my undergrad is in accounting, so like I also just am loving a romance that has an accountant as the heroine. So I liked that, but then it got very dubcon and very intense with the sexy moments. It was a lot. So tonally it was kind of all over the place, but if you're looking for something just sort of bonkers, I think that this could be a good one. So anyway, that was another alien romance I've read. I have a few more on my Kindle, so we'll see if I get to those. Then in terms of what I'm currently reading, I guess really the only thing I'm technically currently reading is that I've started my read of Kiss of Snow by Nalini Singh, which is like one of the most beloved books in the series. I will say, well, maybe I should hold my thoughts for the episode. I really love this book. I do. I don't love it the way a lot of people do because I don't love Hawk the way a lot of people do. Controversial, I know. Anyway, I'll talk more about that, and actually I have a really exciting guest for that particular episode, so stay tuned for that. But this is coming, the episode for this will come out I think at the end of August, but so far definitely enjoying my reread. Sienna is an actual badass. I just love her so much. She's fantastic. So that is technically what I'm currently reading. The other thing, because I think I'm going to polish that off today. Once I am done with that, I am going to start on Cunning Women by Elizabeth Lee, which is a historical fiction book with witches, I believe, in 1620 Lancashire. It is, I think that there's like a suspicion that this group of women are witches, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, so I'm going to start this after I finish Kiss of Snow. I also am going to read Cultish, I think, tomorrow for something that I'm working on, but I'm really excited for that. I'm still waiting for it to, I think it's going to arrive tomorrow, and I'm going to read it tomorrow. But basically it's about how, like, it's written by a linguist and talking about how the language of cults has infused outside of the realm of like the strictly religious, which I think will be a very interesting topic. So I'm excited for that. Other things that I want to try to make sure I read, one is Sister Song by Lucy Holland, which is about three ladies in sort of like ancient Britannia, and I think it's like historical fiction of some kind. I'm reading this for a challenge. Again, cover. Look how beautiful that is. So that is on the docket for this month. My literati book club pick is Piranesi by Susanna Clark, and I am excited to dip into that. This will be my first Susanna Clark, and it's a pretty short little like fantasy novel thing. And then our Blades and Bodice Ripper book club pick for this month is The Unbroken by C.L. Clark. The live show for this will be the 28th on Bethany's channel, and so this is a fantasy fantasy novel that I need to get to. But I think other than that, I get to do a lot of mood reading for the rest of the month. I took care of a lot of the things that I wanted to read kind of in the first week or two, like the first week and a half or so. So I have a lot of freedom. What else might I read? I mean, I have some arcs I can continue reading. I have a few for October that would be easy to slot in. So like Holly Jolly Cowboy by Jessica Clare, aka Ruby Dixon, my actual literal goddess. I have that I could read. I have an isolated close circle mystery that I'm looking forward to called The Last Guest by Tess Little. So I might get to that. So there's a few arcs I might slot in. I have a few video ideas that I might start doing some reading for, but we'll kind of see. I do want to read the next in the Heroes of Olympus series. That would be The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan, and I started it, but just sort of I had deadlines on a couple of other books, so I didn't go back to it. So I should probably go back to that and read it. But yeah, I think that's most of what I might read. Like I said, I get to do a lot of mood reading this month because I have a lot more time to read, which was part of the plan, and it's nice. I feel like I'm coming to some interesting conclusions about like how I need to proceed for my own sanity and happiness with reading and the channel, and I think it's all good things that I'm gonna like, things y'all are gonna like. It's just good all around. I'm in a much more positive headspace. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, by the end of July, I just was in a weird headspace with booktube / reading / life. I don't know. It's just 2021 has just been a weird year, I think, for everyone, because it's like, it's this weird thing where everyone's acting like, oh, we're done with, the panorama. We can all go back outside now. And like, we kind of can, but it's not actually over. And like Delta, all of that, like, I think that's been weird. I've been sick and like, I'm getting a lot better now, so I'm not as bound by that. So like, that's a thing. I don't know. I did a chatty get ready with me talking about the changes that I think I'm gonna make. That's gonna go up, I think, at the very end of August or the beginning of September. So I'll talk more about that there. But all in all, it's like, I feel like in July, I was just not in a good headspace with things, and it feels good to be in a much better headspace with booktube and reading. And I think having some more like renewed fire, renewed vision, renewed energy for the future of how I want to progress. So that's exciting. But anyway, this thing has been melting, so I need to polish it off. I have to get ready for a live stream, so I should go do that. But I hope you guys enjoyed me checking in on my reading so far this month. Let me know what you thought of any of the books that I mentioned, or what you've been reading, how you're feeling about reading, etc. You can let me know that in the comments below. And yeah, I think that will do it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I will try to remember to leave a link to my merch shop, because I'm wearing it today, and into these glasses, because I'm wearing those today. I'll try to remember to link to those. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. I hope you guys are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!